And welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is a good life. And what we're going to do is look at what it means to live a good life and how we can start to generate that now rather than have it be something that we just look at through the rearview mirror. And what it actually means. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome to everybody else who's joining us. It's Friday, and we get to go into the weekend thinking about a good life and what that actually looks like. And before we get started, let's take a couple minutes to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating this brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Let's vigorously rub our palms together. Feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, and all the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. So, a good life, not the good life, a good life. So what makes up a good life? Is it having is it having all the comforts and that our material culture values? Is it loving? Is it having incredible experiences? Is it making a difference in the world? What is it that makes a good life? I've been reading this book, and I know I'm going to be talking a lot more about it because I'm in the process of working on developing a course around money, a group coaching program around money, because money brings up so much stuff for everybody, and how we can evolve our relationship with money and thereby create more of a future that's in alignment with our values. And so maybe a good life is a life lived in alignment with our values. One of the things it talks about in the book, it's a fabulous book, by the way, if you want to check it out. It's called Your Money or Your Life, or My Money or My Life. I think it's Your Money or Your Life. And the foundational premise is, which is true, is that we trade our life energy for money. And when we recognize that, then we can make different choices. Where do we want to put our life energy? Do we want to put it toward a cup of coffee at Starbucks, or do we want to put it toward planting trees? Do we, et cetera. So perhaps what qualifies as a good life is a life that's lived in alignment with our values, that has granted us a sense of purpose, some sense of contentment, perhaps, a feeling that we've made a difference. Because truthfully, I think the old rule was he he who has the most toys wins. That's kind of our materialistic conditioning speaking. And the truth is we can't take those toys with us, right? And so what happens when we start looking at the price of those toys, ethically, energetically? Some of those toys are great. Some of those toys are going to be right in alignment with our values and our intentions and our purpose. And others of those toys we will discover to be just completely extraneous and irrelevant and wasteful even. So what makes a good life? I mean, to be able to look back and say, I've loved deeply, I've been engaged, I have experienced engaged with other people, with the world, not engaged like engagement. I've put my life energy toward a sense of purpose. I've had remarkable discoveries. What kinds of things, what kinds of examples of what makes a good life would you bring forward? What makes a good life? To be connecting with other people, to be pursuing things of interest, to have a sense of vitality and possibility. I mean, even people who have, and we all have to varying degrees, suffered struggle, strife, difficulties, challenges, tragedies. I mean, those tragedies too are part of what I think makes a good life. You know, to say that we've had this wide range of experiences, that we've for me, you know, really what it comes down to for me is experiences. And that may be different for different people, but to be experiencing a vast range of emotion, to be experiencing a vast range of people, to be experiencing a variety of places, of different kinds of experiences, different kinds of learning and knowledge. For me, I'm very hungry for learning and exploration. And I think also one of the things that makes for a good life is fulfillment of our potential. And that occurs at varying degrees, for sure. I think that there's always more potential for us to be able to fulfill. And I was going to talk about enough today. But I think I'm going to leave that for another time. That said, when is enough enough? You know, there are, do we have to keep pushing? Is there a place of fulfillment that is not complacency? You know, a place of fulfillment where we're finding a joyful balance. And it's not required to find a joyful balance in order to have a good life. Ultimately, a good life is what we say it is, right? The question is, if we use that question, just like using the fact that we're going to die as a guide to help us live, to use the question, what is a good life? That we can use that as a source of advisory to be able to cultivate the goodness in our lives while we're living it, while we're living our lives. And In regard to the potential, I don't want to drive us with the cultural preoccupation with more is better. It's like fulfill more and more and more of your potential. Like that has to happen. And I think it's a never-ending journey. It's always available to us. So Rosalind says, does it have a starting point? Are there gradations of a good life? Question, if a good life is conditional, making peace, love is somewhere in the middle. Great questions, Rosalind. So is it a starting point? It's, what it is it's a construct. The whole notion of a good life is a construct, because good compared to what? Good is a comparative word. So as soon as we recognize that, then maybe it gives us some freedom to be looking in a broader angle, a broader perspective. But it's all relative. It's all relative to the context that we create. So certainly there can be gradations, but if we look at our lives, even and maybe especially because of all the suffering and all the challenges and all the things that we have confronted and overcome, and all our growth and evolution and trials and tribulations and triumphs and successes, for me, and this is personal, a good life is a life that has this wide spectrum of experience, where I've been able to experience a lot, all different contexts. Now, I recognize that that's not everybody's criteria. So my criteria for a good life is not necessarily what your criteria for a good life would be. Can you have a hard life that's a good life? I think so. And I think this is where the determination lies is in my declaration of it. So I would say that I think I can look at my life and I can say I lived a good life. I've lived a good life so far. Is it the life that I would have dreamt of for myself? No, because my dreams weren't as far-ranging as my experience has been. I didn't know how to dream up the life that I'm living. Is it a dream life? No, it was horribly hard and filled with pain for a big part of it. And I think I've made a lot out of that pain. So I can say at this point, it's been a good life. And I hope that it is going to be an even richer life as I am moving forward and in greater alignment with myself. That there's a richness that I'm experiencing in life now that kind of puts it all in perspective. So, Rosalind, you ask, is a good life conditional? Well, it's conditional upon what we say, what we determine, if we're determining that it's a good life or not. What is our definition? This is a completely subjective thing. There's no such objective thing as a good life. Yeah. I mean, I don't imagine that there's any sort of objective evaluation of a good life, because it's experiential, right? Am I going to be able to measure a good life by my possessions? People often look at legacy, like what's your legacy? What have you left here for future generations? You know, what's been the impact of your life on the planet? Um, I I think this is just my personal criteria that a life of integrity, meaning integration, where we find alignment and peace with who we are, that's ideal. That's ideal for me anyway. That's an ideal. Is that the criteria for a good life? No. You know, you could be, so Rosalind says, G.P. Walsh has a model for the harmonious human, making peace with the tribe, belonging, the visionary, creator, the nymph, the sage, the stories we tell, and the return back to innocence. That's beautiful, Rosalind. Thank you for that. You contribute some of the most beautiful comments, and it's really appreciated. So what I'm getting from this harmonious human is that it's really what we're talking about. There's all these different elements, and do you need to be a harmonious human to have had a good life? I think it's an awesome question to be asking ourselves, is like, am I living a good life? Have I had a good life? And even if the circumstances of life have been terrible, even if the circumstances of life have been devastating, from the vantage point that I see, the depths of those feelings also is part of life's richness, a big part of life's richness. And so I invite you to entertain your own life as a good life. Not like we have other lives, most of us anyway, don't have other conscious lives or other lives that we can consciously compare to. Some people do, but a good life, meaning a full life, full of life. And life, what is life? Life is all of it: sensual, sense-based experience, emotion, intellect, physicalness, you know, having all these rich experiences. You know, we start out every morning together with our exercise to take a few breaths and to get present to our bodies. And whatever the challenges are of the bodies that we're in, that we inhabit, that we experience the world through, that's super powerful too. You know, is it a good life? It is if we say so. And I think if we say so, it changes the character of our lives. It changes the experience of our lives. If we say it's a good life, with all the drama and all the pain and all the joy and all the feelings, you know, if we say it's a good life, then it is, and perhaps it changes our relationship then to our experience. So as you ask that question, Or if you even, instead of asking the question, what if you just make the statement, this is a good life. Mine is a good life. I have lived, and I am living a good life. How does that shift your relationship if you make that foundational assumption, if you create that context for looking at your life? What's different? What shows up differently when you say, it's a good life? I'm living a good life. How does that change perspective on some of the experiences you've had? The experiences can have been horrific, and you could still be having a good life. If you were having a good life, what would it mean? You know, like if the life that you're living exactly as it is were a good life, what would be different about your attitudes toward your experience, toward yourself, toward being? I think it's a worthy question. I really do. And as you presence yourself to the notion of living a good life, and if you feel that you're really not living a good life, then start looking at what kinds of internal shifts are available to you to make it a good life. Maybe your shift of definition of what a good life is, that might enable you to be having a good life. But what else? You know, because really what this conversation is about is that a good life isn't dependent upon circumstance. It's not dependent upon whether we're rich or we're poor. If we are, and this is what I choose to go with for now, if we are spirit in a physical experience, then all of it is good. All of it is part of that experience. Rosalind says, life is not in years, months, weeks, or days. Life is in the moments. 100%, Rosalind, it is in the moments. And the years, months, weeks, and days are fabrications. The moment is what there is. Rosalind says, a good life, reading a book in the bathtub. Yay, I do that. Sunshine, sharing the bounty of harvest, being a witness to others' light, and effortless being. It requires a lot of effort to not be yourself. Oh boy, that's a whole other can of worms, isn't it? We are so taught, we are so trained to not be ourselves, and we expend so much energy not being ourselves. And it's when we become ourselves that, or we allow ourselves to be, that life becomes so much more rich. And then it's easier to say it's a good life, right? When I'm in alignment. And that was beautiful, Rosalind. Yeah, a good life. And if you feel really truly that you're not living a good life, then maybe there are things that you can change in your life that will better support you in that alignment that really breeds a sense of contentment, fulfillment, peace, persistence, strength, you know, this sense of alignment that allows us to recalibrate when we get off course, to just emanate when we're in alignment with who we are, being ourselves. life is a very different experience. So for me, I think as I'm digging more deeply into these questions, I do believe that the more we become ourselves, the more we are fulfilling what we came here to do and be. It is our uniqueness, our essence that the world is calling for. And that's why we're here, not to be somebody else, not to fill somebody else's expectations, but to be us, unabashedly, unrepentantly, to embrace the self that we are. And it's interesting, back to the G.P. Walsh, the return back to innocence. There's an innocence in a child's expression of who they are. And maybe there's not the refinement that we can gain over time, but coming back to that authentic expression, or coming into that authentic expression, is an innocence in its way. And there's a purity about being ourselves, about being truly who we are. And that, I believe, is serving our highest purpose, that we came with this unique package, this set of unique gifts and quirks and whatever that the world just needed. And we came here to express those things and to be that. So, a good life. What if the life that you have, exactly as it is, what if you declared it to be a good life, and that you get to live a good life? Rosalind says, not externalizing our validation. Exactly. What if just by virtue of being here, am I worthy? What choices would I be making? Yes, Rosalind, thank you for echoing this sentiment that we've spoken of a lot. Exactly. What if just by virtue of being here, you are worthy? What choices would you be making if you didn't have to prove yourself to anybody or anything? If I'm already approving of myself, what would I be doing different? Thank you for these daily conversations to tease apart different constructs. Rosalind, it's such a pleasure. And I so appreciate your engagement with these conversations. It's true. It's like, what if I were worthy? What if all this noise about achievement and worth and productivity, and what if all of that is just noise? What if it's just noise? What if you're fine just as you are and you don't have to prove anything? What would you do? How would you be? What choices would you make differently if you were just here to be you? How would you express? I think that's a great question to go into the weekend with. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And I just have so much gratitude to you for your engaging in these conversations and to have the opportunity to have these dialogues with you. So until next time.